Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment. A little badass gift to you. When you are making an offer on a property that you absolutely know you are going to buy, do not get hung up on the due diligence amount. Due diligence is an amount of money given to the sellers once the offer is accepted and is generally non-refundable, which freaks some people out. If you are going to tear down the existing structure and build new, and the seller is demanding $10,000 in earnest money, again, it should not matter. You want this property. Another example is if you have been wanting to rehab a historic home in a super hot area of town, what you pay up front can also make your offer look more appealing to the seller because it shows your good faith when making an offer to purchase their property. I have seen fellow investors lose out on an awesome opportunity because they didn't want to come out of pocket an additional $500. Don't let that be you. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Nick McCullum. Nick is a passive real estate investor and software developer that runs Passiv, and that's Passiv with no E, which is a portfolio balancing software that makes it easy to diversify away from real estate and build a balanced portfolio of ETFs, stocks, and bonds. So, welcome to the show, Nick.
Thanks, Jen. Happy to be here.
Hi, Nick. So, tell us a little bit about you. You're coming to us from Eastern Canada?
Yeah, so I'm calling in from Fredericton, New Brunswick today. It's a little town of about 100,000 people.
A boat? Did you say a boat?
I did say about, yeah. You can pick up on the Canadian accent, I can see. So that's great.
All right. And are you from Canada? Tell us about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in a small town in Canada here called Sussex, New Brunswick. So it's about 5,000 people. We like to joke that it has more dairy cows than it has actual humans. So that's kind of like the agriculture town that I grew up in. I went to college for math, and since then I've worked in, professional finance and investment management for my entire career.
I am so excited for this call because my weakness is the financial side of our business. I'm married to an accountant, and so he does all of this, and I just feel stupid sometimes when it comes to this. So I really hope you're going to teach me tons and tons and tons. So I know you are also a real estate investor and you do rental properties. So tell us about acquiring your first rental properties.
Yeah, so I always worked in finance. Like I said, been a big, stock market investor, passive investor, ETF investor, investing in kind of a lot of the more traditional investments on the public market side of things. And I know that real estate is also kind of a really viable investable asset class. So last year I kind of started looking around for opportunities, found a little duplex that was, trading at a cap rate of around 7.5. So, for our market, that's pretty good. Things here go from anywhere from 6 to 8, I would say. And I guess what was appealing about that property for me was it seemed to have a really immediate opportunity to raise rents once I bought it. So I kind of, after acquisition, I've been able to increase the one unit by $200 a month and the other unit by $300 a month. So overall, it seems, in the short time I've had it, has been a good investment so far.
Very nice. And how did you finance that deal? Just curious.
Yeah, so I just did a really basic conventional mortgage loan with one of the major financial institutions here in Canada, RBC. So 20% down, 1.9% interest rate. And, is basically as far as financing goes as traditional as you can get.
Gotcha. And they are still rocking out the passive income coming to you. So that leads us to Passiv. Tell me what Passiv is, and it's Passiv without an E. Explain to the audience.
Passive is a platform that you can use to manage your own investment accounts really simply and really easily. So to understand how Passive works, I think it's really helpful to understand the problem that we're trying to solve. And if you think about a traditional investor, they probably have a group of investments that they want to own, and they have a rough idea of like how much of their money they want to be in each of those investments. So, just for the purpose of diversification, they want their assets to be spread across multiple things. A lot of investors track this using a spreadsheet. And when it comes to public markets investments like stocks or ETFs or bonds, all of those investments are fluctuating in value all the time. So, you might start out with 5% of your portfolio in 20 different things, but some of those things will go up in price and some of those things will go down in price. So people use spreadsheets to track what they need to be buying and selling to stay roughly, on track for their target portfolio, if that's what you want to call it. Now, Passive was started because one of our co-founders experienced this exact issue. He had his retirement account and he had his wife's retirement account and he had a couple child education plans for his kids, and they all had model portfolios that he wanted those accounts to be invested in, and he was tracking all of this with a spreadsheet. Now, spreadsheets are great. They're an awesome tool for automating these sorts of things, but the problem with using spreadsheets for this task is that they can tell you what you need to buy and sell, but then you still need to go to your broker and actually execute all the trades one by one. You have to type them all in. You have to sometimes pay commissions depending on how many trades you're doing and those sorts of things. So that's kind of where the initial idea for Passive was formed. Now, how Passive helps you solve this problem is that Passive pairs directly to your brokerage account. It allows you to create a target portfolio. And once you've created that target portfolio, Passive allows you to rebalance into that target portfolio with one click. After that, we kind of monitor your account and notify you whenever your account drifts from your target portfolio so that you can log in and kind of rebalance again just with that one-click trade functionality.
Okay, so I, as a real estate investor, I came from corporate America where I had a 401k and I moved it into a self-directed IRA. Are you talking about people investing from their self-directed IRA?
Absolutely. You could do a self-directed IRA. You could do a self-directed 401k, any kind of investment account where you have the discretion over what you're buying and selling with, if it's an account at TD Ameritrade or Interactive Brokers or some other brokerage houses. Passive will link directly to that account and allow you to do, the rebalancing and target portfolio management.
So I got to be honest. When I was in corporate America, it was invested and you had to pick like an aggressive one or a safe one, which is like a group. And then somebody picked what my money would be invested in. So now as a self-directed IRA, why would it be important for a real estate investor? Because I normally will put all of my money towards I'm a private money lender out of my self-directed IRA. And I know I should diversify, and considering investing in an app that a friend of ours is creating. So tell me how it's important for real estate investors to diversify and how this would work for them.
One way that a lot of real estate investors could use Passive is as a place to manage the money that they're pooling for future deals. So for me personally, I'm like you, I'm a real estate investor. I have rental properties. I plan on eventually getting more rental properties, but you need a down payment to do that, and you need to have a deal as well. So those two constraints mean that you're usually not always acquiring properties unless you've kind of scaled up a massive acquisitions business. But Passive is a great place for you to set up a regular monthly contribution to your investment account, and then make sure that those regular contributions get invested in whatever asset you have in your target portfolio that's underway, so that you can still keep a balanced portfolio as you contribute over time. And then once your portfolio gets large enough, maybe you could sell down some of those public market assets and use that as a down payment for another real estate acquisition.
All right, so that's starting to make sense. So you learned code. Again, this is so beyond my realm of knowledge here. So how was learning code to make you more efficient to do this business?
Well, Passive, as you know, is a software business. So code is really kind of the foundation on which the product is built. In terms of why it's helpful, just more broadly speaking, in terms of career advice, I would say when I was in college, I got great advice from one of my professors. And what he said was, the days where you can make a really good living being good at one thing are over. If you want to, be successful and have a remarkable career where you can make some impact and really, be an effective employee or entrepreneur or what have you, you need to be really good at at least two things. So for me, I always thought finance was interesting. So that was one of the things that I kind of dialed towards. And then I also thought software and technology were interesting. So to the extent where I can kind of provide some impact operating at the edge of finance and technology, that's kind of what I've chosen to dial in and focus on.
Awesome. And again, this blows my mind how this is all put in here together. So I'm a real estate investor. I purchased this software, and tell me like step by step what I need to do to start growing my money.
We try to make Passiv as simple to use as possible. So I think anyone who wants to try this out, just go to our website. It's passiv.com. You can sign up for a free trial and, or not a free trial, but just a free account. And if you want to upgrade to our paid edition, we have like a satisfaction guarantee. So if it turns out you try the paid edition and you don't like it, we'll just happily refund you. But so that'll be the first step. You have to go create a Passiv account. Once you've created your Passiv account, then it's time for you to link your Passiv account to your brokerage account. So it's a really simple flow. All you do is you click your brokerage in the Passiv menu, and then you type in your brokerage credentials. We don't actually store any of those credentials. You just get redirected to their site to authorize us to connect. Once that's done, all of your accounts will populate in the Passiv dashboard, and then it's time for you to set your target portfolio. There's two different ways that you can set your target portfolio in Passiv. One way is building your target portfolio from scratch, and that would be a good option if you're kind of really making some big changes as to how you want the money in that account to be invested. Another way that you can set your target portfolio is just by importing your current holdings as your target portfolio. So if you were 50% Apple stock and 50% Tesla stock, and you imported your current holdings as your target portfolio, that's what your target portfolio would be as well, just 50% Apple, 50% Tesla. And once that's all done, you can log out of Passiv, and we'll send you emails whenever you need to log in and take action. Of course, there's lots and lots of customization as well. You can change things like whether you want to allow selling to rebalance or what your default currency is. We also have more advanced features like the ability to connect to multiple different brokerages. So if you wanted to manage some of your money that's at TD Ameritrade, and you also wanted to manage some of your money that's at Interactive Brokers, you could connect them both to Passiv and use Passiv as a central dashboard for you to manage your money at both of those institutions in one place.
Anything else our listeners need to learn about Passiv, how it can benefit them?
Passiv also has a really cool feature that I'm a big fan of, which is like our goals feature. So Passiv allows you to set a financial goal, and then it provides a nice dashboard for you to track how you're progressing on that financial goal over time. So a really basic example would be, let's say you're a 22-year-old who just graduated from college, and you want to take some steps to make sure that you're on the right financial track to have, a sustainable financial future. You might want to set up your Passiv account, link it to your brokerage account, and then set up automated deposits into your Passiv account, or into your brokerage account that's linked to Passiv rather. And then you could use our goals feature to track your net worth over time. You might set a goal of saying, I want to have $1 million in my Passiv accounts by the time I am 45 years old. Passiv would provide you a nice place to track your percent completion of that goal over time and tell you, if you're not on track.
So for an individual, this to me sounds like I have more control over where my money is going to go, which when I worked for corporate America, I feel like I had somebody else making all those decisions for me. So this is fantastic. Again, tell the listeners where they can find Passiv.
Yeah, if you want to check out our software, our website is passiv.com. That's PASSIV.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, where our handle is Passiv Team.
Gotcha. All right. So you heard me say a badassery bestowment. Do you have a badassery bestowment you can share with our audience?
I would say one piece of advice that I really wish that I got when I was younger is to not focus so much time on making money immediately as a young, employee or as a young entrepreneur, but instead, when it's young, it's especially important to try to really develop the skills that you'll need to earn money later. So when I was in college and shortly after college, I spent a lot of time day trading stocks or doing a lot of investment research, but I had no money. So, if I invested $500 in some stock and it doubled, I'd make $500, and that's great. But I probably would have been better off devoting all the time I spent trading stocks and doing investment research on, learning how to become a better financial employee, or learning how to code better, or kind of really developing my professional skills at the outset instead of trying to, become the next Warren Buffett with no money, basically.
Exactly. And I can remember being young and thinking, oh, you're going to take what out of my paycheck? And it was just hard to part with that money. But it is important to go ahead and start young to make those investments so that you have that money later on as well. And it grows and grows and grows. So thank you so much for sharing about Passiv. The second half of my interview is I like to find out why Nick is a badass. So I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B. What is a book that has made a huge difference in your life?
Well, there's lots, but I mean, I would say two that immediately come to mind. One is The Warren Buffett Way by Robert Hagstrom. So that book kind of details how Warren Buffett's made his money in the stock market and by running businesses. And what that really showed me is that one of the key components of Warren Buffett's success is not the fact that he's a genius, although I think he probably is. It's not the fact that he had money at a young age or anything like that. But one of the key, components of his success is just his discipline. He really puts in the work. He's doing research day in and day out, and he thinks for the long term on how to build a sustainable business and kind of generate long-term returns for his shareholders and for his company. So all of those things are really replicable by people like you and me. We can focus on being disciplined. We can think for the long term, and it doesn't really matter if we're not, we don't have a 200 IQ. We can still kind of replicate those parts of his success. Another book that I'm a big fan of is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's a book about an ultra marathon runner named David Goggins, and it's kind of his autobiography. But I think there's a lot of life lessons in that book on how to deal with hardship and kind of get through the tough periods of your life. So those are two books that I would say have had a big impact on me.
Are you a marathon runner?
Yes, I am.
Really? I am not. I am a social drinker. I'd rather do that.
Well, I mean, everything in moderation, right? I can't really say I'm much of a marathon runner these days because coronavirus has basically canceled every race. So
yeah, I bet. So the next letter is A, and it's advice. What is some advice that you have received that made a big difference?
One piece of advice I really like is go slow to go fast. So that's kind of a nice colloquialism that basically says life's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's important that you are pushing yourself all the time, but not to the point where you're getting burnt out or your work is getting sloppy or anything like that. So sometimes it's nice if you're really pushing yourself a lot to reflect like, hey, is this sustainable? Can I do this for a long period of time? Because, just me being myself in my mid 20s or whatever, I have, 40 or 50 years of work left in me. So I can't really work myself too hard now because I got to make sure that I'm there for the rest of the journey.
So you are in your mid 20s. I did not catch this part. So your brain has created all this software and you still have 40, 50 years to go. That blows my mind.
I can't really take credit for building all of Passiv by any means. We have two co-founders who built most of the business, and otherwise we have, lots of other employees who've made big contributions as well. But yeah, I'm 24, I guess, just to be specific.
24. Wow. I think the jeans I'm wearing are 24 years old. Anyway. All right. So the next letter is D, which is drive. What drives you to be successful?
Our driving goal at Passiv is to make DIY investing accessible for everyone. So to the extent that we can help people by building a software platform, that's great. But we also have a pretty comprehensive blog. So if there's things you want to learn about how to take your investment management into your own hands, we really believe in empowering investors through education and doing, I guess, the things that we can to make DIY investing accessible for everyone. So for us, there's a lot of power in understanding how to manage your own investments. Yeah, a big hurdle for people is just getting started. So if we can make it as easy as possible, that's kind of my driving force.
I can't wait to check it out. I'm so clueless when it comes to investing in stocks and bonds and all that fun stuff. So thank you for creating it. All right. The next letter is the second A, which is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal that you have in your next 40 to 50 years?
I would like to see Passiv become the absolute, the unquestionable best place for people to manage their own investments. So that's a really lofty goal. It's also hard to measure, but as we kind of continue along this journey as a company and continue to grow and get more integrations and more support, then I think we'll kind of really refine that goal and maybe make it a bit more measurable. But for now, that's kind of my driving goal.
Awesome. And you seem to really have your stuff together here. So the next letter is S for systems. What systems do you have in place that help you to achieve success?
Honestly, one of the things that I think a lot of people do not put enough time into is how they manage their email. Email can be an absolute bottomless time sink if you're not careful. So I've invested probably, I don't know how much time, dozens and dozens of hours into trying to develop the best email system possible. So for me, my email is super optimized. I have my Gmail all set up with hotkeys so I can plow through that really fast. And I don't know.
I think you need to create some software to help me manage my email. The last S is success. So what does success mean to you?
The best definition of success for me is the opportunity to work on things that I'm really passionate about when I want to work on them. So as an entrepreneur, entrepreneur and, as someone who kind of works at a startup, it's really important to have buy-in for your mission and to have like a lot of passion and energy for what you're doing. So to the extent that I can kind of work on big problems that I'm passionate about, that's to me what success looks like. And I feel like I've achieved that kind of now where I'm at. I think a lot of people think of success, they think of having $1 million mansion or what have you. But for me, it's all about the journey. I just want to be happy doing what I'm doing every day, because if I put some big goal at the end of the journey and I don't get to it, that'll just that's just kind of a recipe for disappointment. You got to be happy going through the motions day in and day out.
Well, you are so impressive, Nick. I know the future holds so much for you. So I thank you for coming on and telling us all about Passiv. Anything else you want to add for the listeners?
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say is if you guys really are kind of intrigued by our software and need a little bit of extra advice or input on how to get started, check us out at our website at passiv.com, or you can send me an email and I'll give you a demo. My email is nick.mccullum@passiv.com, and I'd love to hear from you.
And that's NickMcCullum. So that is all, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery, and don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.